tinfoil hat, all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Hey, thanks, Nighthawk. And guess what? Thanks also to Solaris for another great show leading into ours. I'm just switching up a bit today. I'm Dave.
And I'm Mecky.
He sure is. That is Mecky. And I'm Dave. I'm Narara in the chat room, by the way. And
I'm Mecky in the chat room.
You're Mecky in the chat room. Hey, Mecky. Mecky. Yeah, I'm Dave Narara, or Narara Dave. And we together are Shiny Side Out for this program on WCCR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio, where you could find unfiltered and fresh ideas in the chat room where we are right now, so you can talk to us while we're on air. And the station website is also a tremendous place to get your merchandise. Do that. And you've also got access to the archives for the station, which are free. 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 If you don't watch British comedy from the 70s, you don't know what that means. All right, this is show number, Mecky. Can you believe this? 611.
Oh, 110 and 600.
Very nice. Finally, there's no more zero. Did you know that you can catch us on air, online, and anywhere on your smart device by using an app? Or you can sit at home with your feet up, having a cup of your favourite beverage on your porch, listening to a Grace tabletop digital radio. It's actually really neat to be able to do that. Solaris had, I think it was Niche and herself tonight. Let me just confirm that. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. Yes, that's right. Cyberwitch Cafe. And you know what? If you don't know who Solaris is, you really need to jump into the archives of the station and download a whole bunch of her shows. They're all in MP3 format, and they're all date stamped, so you know kind of which day, well, you know exactly which day it was and time. And you can find out some really neat stuff. And if you don't follow her on one of the social media platforms where she's advertising her next guest coming up, you're kind of missing out. Because then you got to chase it afterwards, after the fact. Never easy. Don't worry, Solaris always has a great show, so it would do you a favour to jump in and grab her shows from the archive. You know what? I'm gonna put a challenge out there, Mackie.
Go on.
Not to you specifically, but to our audience, the listener, whoever's listening to this, to go and download something, one of the archives, from a show that you're not familiar with, and see if you like it. Give it a good listen. And if that doesn't work, try another one. And keep going. Because you're bound to find something you like. That's a given. With so many different voices, you're bound to find something. I used to love listening to Deacon John's show. I absolutely loved it. And I admit it's lives got busy, life gets in the way, and I didn't do that. But I've got the opportunity to download a whole bunch over the Christmas period in advance and then just binge it, because that's awesome. And a shout out to everybody who contributes their time to, used to be freedomslips.com, it's Revolution Radio, or whether it's Studio A or Studio B, it's irrelevant. All right, they're all great shows. Mecky, I'm going to give a hint away here that I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country.
I, of course, come to you from the nice country, beautiful country of the Dark people.
Ah, see. And Mecky and I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast respectively for each other and pay our respects to elders past, present and future. Mecky, part of that respect, I just watched a walkthrough of two things. One was a drive-through. It wasn't a drive-by, it was a drive-through of the new intersection underground coming off the Anzac Bridge.
Okay, yes. I actually drove past it yesterday.
Right, so that's number one. And number two, they've been doing some speed tests under the harbour in the new metro tunnel, which isn't open to the public yet. However, they had a public viewing this week of the Barangaroo station.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a couple of videos online you can find. If you can work out how to spell Barangaroo and you're not from Australia, good luck with that. But they had an open day there, and yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the entrance is only a couple of meters above sea level, but then you go down something nearly 100 meters to the platform.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
wow.
well, remember a train. Barangaroo's right on the edge of the harbour, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the edge of the harbour.
Yeah.
And you can't have a train go on a really steep slope. It just doesn't work. Trains hate steep. And so I don't know, what is it, 10 degrees or something is pretty much whatever they can cope with. So the metro system, fully laden with people, has to be able to go down a hill and up a hill to get from underneath the water.
Wow.
Right? So it's almost, I think, 100 meters down at Barangaroo.
That's incredible.
And it's harbour-side.
That'd be the deepest in Sydney.
Yeah, well, it's got to get there. And then it's a slow rise up, to Falcon Street, I think. I don't know how many stations there are before you get to Falcon Street, but, if you know Sydney, then you know what I'm talking about, right? Like St. Leonard's.
Just to help you, it's where my brother lives on Falcon Street. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you can go visit my brother. All of you. Go visit my brother now.
So I used to love River Road that brought you to Falcon Street on the other side of the highway, and it came from Hunters Hill. I used to love that road. That was a really lovely road to drive. In the 80s, it's different now. It's just chockers. That means it's full of other cars. But in the olden days, Becky, it wasn't really.
If you go out late at night, it's still a good drive.
Yeah, it is. I liked the mid-corner. I liked the mid-corner bump in the just after you're coming east and you go past the golf course, and you're in the left lane, the outside lane, curbside lane, and as you're turning, there's a mid-corner grate that you've got to hit, and I used to love that because it had all the aspects of like Bathurst track, but it was a road, and it was a 4-lane road. Well, Bathurst is really only really 2.5 cars wide, but they can manage to get 3 across there. Anyway, so look, again, how's your week been since I opened?
Well, since you've been open, I felt much better. It's terrible to run around with a closed Dave. You want to open Dave. I'm sorry. You left that door wide open, didn't you?
I do that a lot.
No, look, it's look, overall, it's been a good week. It's been a good week for me personally, more or less. Some interesting things happening at my work, which I will not talk about. But don't. I've been in management for, I want to say about close to 20 years.
Hang on.
Quite, right?
You've got to do it like a tradie. So when you ask a tradie, this is a tradesperson in Australia, we call them tradies. When you ask a tradesperson to give you a quote, and they've come out to your house, they've looked at the work that needs to be done, and then when it comes to let's talk price, like what is it going to cost? The immediate noise before and delay, so this is 2 ways of being able to tell how much it's going to cost, is the duration between when you asked and when they give you the price, and the noise that you hear in between. See, that's right. Because they've done this 1,000 times, right? So they should know the price. But if they go, and the price is going to be high, right? That's the noise that comes behind the price that's too high to even consider. Because when I get work done at my house, I always have the same builder that comes, and he just tells me the price straight off the bat. There's no mucking around. I'm not going for a race to the bottom with tradies, right? I'm just getting my guy to get the work done because he's trustworthy. But when they think that all you're going to do is get a quote and you're never going to hear from them again, right? They go and then give you a price because it's just a finger in the air. price. When they go, that's the price you can't afford, and they've made that determination before they're given the price, but you haven't even heard the price yet. Tell them the price, son.
Tell him he's dreaming.
Tell him he's dreaming. So, when they go, oh, they're trying to work it out and add just enough margin so that you'll accept the job. It's really funny, and I've dealt with a lot. I mean, look, granted, this is a generalization. I don't hate on tradies at all. Love you guys. You build the world, right? So it's just, I don't hear clients say that at my work. I don't hear them make that whistle or do the expiration of breath. I don't hear that. You know what I mean? They don't say that. No, I don't reply like in those regards. Yeah. So anyway, I just had to put it out there, Mickey.
That's what happened. No, look, there are things happening. Every year I come across something that I haven't seen before. Like a few years ago, I think I told you guys I came across something called workplace abandonment.
Ooh.
And I go, okay, what's this then? I said, one of my people had decided to no longer, return calls. No signs of life. Not quitting, mind you.
Oh.
Okay, just not participating in the wider human experience.
Ah.
Yeah, I know. And so we had to send the cops over to see if that person was still alive. I mean, you care and all that.
Of course.
But the wife, no, he's all good.
He's fine, actually.
Doesn't want to talk because she didn't know what was going on, right?
Yeah.
But clearly he had he had decided not to respond to anything. Now there's a backstory here which is quite tragic in his case. He was part of something that left him quite traumatized. But I've come across something else again, and a couple of things, in fact.
So I'm sorry. I'm making this up. This is not true. He was part of a failed tender.
Yeah, that's not true.
I know it's not true. That's fine.
But hey, good guess.
It was a guess.
Yeah, look, that's right. So,
Not
but yeah,
guess.
look. So I am though, with the things that I've experienced in the last few weeks in my work. And more than ever convinced that the corporatocracy we live in,
Yep.
the feudalist system we inhabit, the fascist ideals we all follow now. It has to finish. It has to stop. It has to end. Something else needs to come. We need another form of society where that is not driven. And I'm being very serious.
Mm-hmm.
We need a society that is not driven by profit.
Mm.
The motive, the forward momentum of our society can no longer be profit. I know we will probably not going to get a Star Trek-like society where the forward momentum of the society is not profit, but rather the betterment of it's science, but it's also the betterment of humanity as well as science and the expansion of knowledge. And all that.
Uh-huh.
So, 100%. And why is that not a good thing? No, seriously. Why is that? I mean, that is a worthwhile pursuit, right? But now, today, virtually everything we do in the West and increasingly in almost every country on the planet, almost everything we do is in the pursuit of profit, of money. To buy more things that we don't need for a life that we didn't choose and don't really understand. And this is the other thing that I find a little
throw me a life
disturbing.
preserver, Mackie.
Well, yeah, but see, a lot of us are living this life because that's the life we know.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really blame people for that.
You're born into
They
it.
weren't.
Yeah.
Exactly. They weren't given a choice. They weren't allowed to, choose another thing, another way. But by the same token, we have also forgotten to ask questions. We've forgotten to understand what underlies it all. I mean, I want to give you a very simple example, and then I'm going to shut up because there's lots of other things we have to cover. Very simple example. And it's a very pertinent example. In 2008, the bottom fell out of the mortgage market, the real estate market in the United States. A huge financial crisis, but it was precipitated by the, the mortgage crisis. Let's call it that. How did that happen? Well, the banks, in order to make more profit, and salespeople, the banks that wanted to make their commissions, were selling mortgages to people that couldn't afford them, really. I mean, realistically speaking, the people that got those mortgages should never have got them, and not just the one, but many. And off they went. And the banks were going, oh, this is brilliant, it's a boom, blah, blah, blah. And then they went to the ratings agencies like Moody's and others as well, and said, okay, look, I've got these mortgages here, right? They're all being packaged into what they like to call financial instruments, which becomes something that you can then buy. Like a superannuation fund can buy that as part of its portfolio. It's pretty neat, right? Well, not really. So the ratings agency goes, okay, well, let's have a look at that. No, the bank says, let's not have too close a look at it. Because it's not like they didn't know this, okay?
Yeah.
It's not like they didn't know. So
they were all doing it to each other.
Yeah, all of them. I need a AAA rating. I need a AAA rating for all the mortgages in here. Mm-hmm. That way I can sell it really well and I make even more money. And become even richer.
So how, Mackie, this is the management meeting before we sell the product to another bank, right? We're packaging it and we're going, well, I mean, it looks too profitable. So why don't we throw some of our delinquents accounts in there, and because that'll bring the overall profitability. It'll still be AAA, but at least we'll get rid of some of the rubbish, right?
Actually, it was worse than that.
Yeah, I know.
There were entire instruments which were just rubbish.
I know,
still
that's
AAA
right.
rated.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
of course.
So what Dave is insinuating here, that there was some management decision that we have a lot of good stuff here and we just put a little bit of bad stuff. No.
It was a whole basket rubbish. Full of rotten potatoes, Mackie.
Yeah, and the ratings agencies, because, and this is where it all sort of, this is where I need you to pay attention, because the banks are paying for the service. If the ratings agency doesn't give them the rating they want, they will go to another ratings agency.
Yeah.
So they give them the rating that they want, even though they probably knew better as well. So, boom, out we go. Go forward a month, a year, whatever. All of a sudden, people can't pay their mortgages anymore. Look, that's ultimately there's no really problem if it's only a few people, but hundreds of thousands of people were defaulting. Hundreds of thousands. Mm-hmm. In the end, 1 million homes were foreclosed. 1 million. In America, though, you can just walk away from your debt.
You can mail your keys back, right?
To the bank.
I'm done.
Here you go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. And walk away. And now, all of a sudden, the bank sits on these toxic assets, or whoever owns the financial instrument, they're sitting on these toxic assets.
That's right.
That's no good. So, greed, and let's make no mistake, greed and corruption got us to the financial crisis. What happened next was even worse. And I'm saying this as an example of what happens almost everywhere in the world. The banks then said, oh, geez, it's all falling apart. I don't want to hold the bag.
That's right.
I don't want to do that. So off they went to the White House, a select few of them, to meet with the people in the White House. Mm-hmm. And they said, hey, look, buddy, boyo, champion, friend,
mate,
comrade.
Yeah.
Hey, remember?
How far do we go back, huh?
All the way. And the government agrees to purchase all of the toxic assets at market price. All of them. All of them. And sits on it. And what money did the government use? Oh, that's right. Taxpayer money. Billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. In fact.
That's right.
And the banks, because they did such a great job, gave themselves big, fat
woohoo money fight.
Yay!
Every time that bell rings, Mackie, we've got to have a money fight.
That's what we'll do. And you might not believe this, but the government is still sitting on some of those things today.
Uh-huh.
Today. And it was one of the biggest redistributions of wealth in the history of the world.
And it's called a bailout.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Too big to fail. That's a nonsense. That's the day capitalism died.
No, exactly right. So if the government didn't, then America would be, I don't know, it would be inoperable.
No. See, that's the thing, right? So what they like you to believe is, oh no, we can't live without the banks. So that's a fallacy. That is actually incorrect. You can live without banks. It just makes life a lot easier to have banks.
It's like a
For
world
the
with
more-
no lawyers, Mickey.
Also, well, yeah, see, exactly. Or at least you're given to see. The thing is, the banking system that we understand today has been around for a few hundred years. But there was something before that. There weren't always banks around. There just weren't, right? And people had to be productive to survive. They had to do stuff to survive. I mean, there were always parasites. Don't get me wrong. There were always parasites that lived off others. You know, the nobility, the kings, etc., the clergy, and all those guys. But it was a relatively small amount of people. Now, the amount of these are not the parasitic people that are ruling everything. These are simply just parasites that are not doing anything, that are contributing to society. Like all of Wall Street, completely parasitic.
Mm-hmm.
All the financial systems, all the financial institutions, parasitic. Is there an alternative system? The answer, of course, there is. Yes, there's an alternative system, right? But it requires a fundamental rethink of our life. And of course, because, well, the vast majority of us are so used to this life, it can't be an evolution. It has to be a revolution, which will be very, very, very painful, right?
Yeah.
And when I say a revolution, I mean it's a revolution of thought, right? Because you have to stop thinking the way you think, and you have to think differently. And
everything
all of
we
a sudden,
do is based on capitalism.
Yeah.
And making more and more margin.
But you know what? Once you do that, once you find that new paradigm, and I want to just put it out there, the Star Trek society, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know people are smiling now, they're smirking, he's a bit of a simpleton, that's okay, right? No, not really. Not really. If we were moving into a post-scarcity society, which we are, and there were enough resources and such for everybody on the planet, which there are, then there's really nothing stopping us from moving into a Star Trek-like society, because we could distribute all the resources to such an extent that everybody would have enough. Or that's communism. Well, kind of, but not really. Okay, because you have to eliminate the corruption of the Politburo, you have to eliminate the corruption of the higher-ups, and it has to be equally, or equitably rather, distributed system. And guess what? AI is happening. You can have a neutral and uninvolved arbiter of our society. And dare I say it could be AI. So AI does not have to be this HAL 6000,
9,000.
That was a 9,000 monstrosity, Terminator, or anything like that. Dyna systems. It was Dyna now. It was
Cyberdyne.
Cyberdyne Systems. That's right. Cyberdyne Systems. There's actually a company like that. Now,
There is. They called themselves that after the movie.
how cool is that?
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing, though. In fact, a friend of mine called their financial company. I don't know if he still has it. He called it Globex, which I thought was just hilarious. Globex is the name of the company that the villain in The Simpsons has.
That's
when he
right.
gets Homer to kill James Bond.
You know, I like you, Homer. Do you remember? It was the red-headed guy with the red beard, right?
It was.
Lived
it
in the
was.
volcano. Yeah.
Yeah, always a volcano. But look, the point here is this. The example I've just given you is what actually happened. And there's stuff like that happening everywhere all the time. Now it's getting more dangerous because they're now actually starting to, the parasites and the system itself, they're starting to gobble up resources we can't live without, like water, arable land, okay, things like that, energy resources. Always energy resources, but it's really what really worries me is the water. That's what really, really worries me. So we must find a different way. And look, yesterday I had a lunch with a couple of friends, and we almost had kind of a heated debate about some of this. But being the mature adults we were, we came back from it and I guess what you call made up. But it cuts to the bone. This topic, Dave, and the topics surrounding it, our system, the system we live in, the financial system, fiat currency, the fractional reserve lending, etc. In fact, it is no longer right to say that Australia has a fractional reserve lending system because there no longer is a fraction required to be lending against. So, but yeah, it really got fired up. I'll tell you what, Dave. And and all kinds of buttons were pushed. It's hard to maintain one's composure when it becomes emotional, because it does. Because if you question someone's foundation, Dave, that's a really significant.
What else do they have after that?
Oh,
nothing.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I think.
It is what it is. It truly is. There's a story back here about OpenAI's a rift between billionaires and altruistic researchers unraveled over the future of artificial intelligence.
Oh.
Right. Because that kind of comes off the back of the story you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've given you a link there. This was the darling of Silicon Valley became the CEO of OpenAI. But now that isn't going that well. There's a rift now, and between the billionaires, and they're not sure which way this is going to go now. Because
the rift between the billionaires. That's funny, isn't it?
That actually counteracts. This is just I'm going to say that it's a nonsense story, just to fill a gap in no news from AI. Right. That's what I'm going to say. That there's probably something in there that's important, but really not that important. It says at the time the OpenAI announcement said no pre-existing legal structure we know of strikes the right balance. So the founders created a capped profit company that would be governed by the not-for-profit board. Very strange. How is that a thing?
So, do you mind saying that again?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
This is when he took the reins of the company. At the time, the OpenAI announcement said, "No pre-existing legal structure we know of strikes the right balance." End of quote. So the founders created and here comes a quote again, a capped profit, end quote, company that would be governed by the not-for-profit board.
Oh, I see. A capped. Sorry, that's the part I missed.
Yeah, capped profit. Yeah.
You know,
because
it's like
you spend a whole bunch of money doing research, you need to kind of recoup something, right?
Well, that was but he didn't. Well, the answer is no, you don't, unless you want to make money. So the answer is no. You don't have to do anything at all.
The board members seem pretty keen on it.
Yeah, but that's your capitalist hat on now, right? You want to make money? No, well, why? What do you mean? See, as soon as you ask that question, people look at you like you're insane.
That's right.
Why
would you mean want to make money? That's right.
See, but that's and again, that's what Nikola Tesla was all about. Right? He's called the guy who invented the 20th century, and I have to agree with that assessment. But he didn't want any money for any of it.
Yeah.
Like, he was happy to give it all away. And of course, that's capitalism can't have that. So, that penniless.
Yeah.
But the truth is this, Dave, you don't have to make money. But what they're doing now is, capped profit, which is cost. That's a nonsense. Okay, that's complete nonsense. What they should have become is a non-for-profit organization, like a charity. At least they're getting tax-exempt status if they did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
If you've got a capped profit, how does it even work? So let's say you're making $100 million, but your cap is $50 million. Do you then give the rest away
to somebody? Look, to be honest, I'll be the happy recipient of that money. Just saying. I'll split it 50-50 with you, Mackie, if that's the way you'd like to go.
Brother, I expect nothing less. But you see, that's the thing, though. It's a nonsensical statement to have a capped profit company. And then what if the company expands and the initial cap that was sufficient is now no longer sufficient because they're making so much more money? Right?
Increase the cap, Mackie.
Increase the cap, Mackie.
So once you've done that, then you can release as a something dividend. I forget what the term is, and then release a number of your employees so that cap now stays, but your employee base is less. It's the same as increasing margin. There's no difference.
No. See, you're right. And this is what we're doing in the corporate world. There are two ways to make money. There are two ways. That's it. There's only two ways. One, you make money. You sell stuff. You buy.
Classic.
So that's the I guess the productive way of making money.
The classic
to
way
make money,
Mickey.
right?
Yeah.
Then the other way to make money is to save costs, which has the same effect as Dave has said. Same effect. So you instead of making $1 million, you save $1 million by firing 10 people or 100 people or whatever, right? And it's the same on the books, and that's why you see all these massive layoffs in the world. Okay, it's so the books balance. That's the only reason. And the books need to balance for the share price. Why is that important? Well, the shareholders want to get paid the dividends, right?
That's right. There'll be an uproar if they don't get some dividend.
That's it.
Yeah.
So again, the capitalist system is self-defeating. Because you enter a death spiral if you do that. Let me give you an example. Let's say you've got 1,000 people working for you. Dave, you're director Dave of Dave Danger and Industries.
If there's an org chart, Mickey, it's me with all the money around me at the top.
That's right.
me. You've never seen that meme?
Yeah, having a money fight with your version of Smithers.
Yeah.
And 1,000 employees. Okay, so Dave is making lots of money. Okay, that's great. Then he goes public and sells shares. Oh no, he's no longer the only owner, but he might still hold the majority. That's fine. But I'm not making enough money for my profits to realize, and that means my share price is going to fall. My company is going to be devalued. And in the 80s, if you remember the Gecko line that says the greed is good. You remember the movie Wall Street?
Yeah.
There was a prime time for companies to be taken over when their share price was in the US. So they would buy a company very, very cheaply, and they would break it up and sell the component parts, right? And that could happen to Dave, but Dave doesn't want that. Director Dave has worked very hard to build this company, so he lets go 500 people, right? Oh, but that's really that's a problem as well. I'll tell you why it's a problem, because productive capacity. So the ability for Dave to function as a company has now been diminished by whatever percentage. I mean, he might not fire 50% of his people, but however many people he fires, right? There's always fat, sure enough, but however many people he has will affect his ability to function as a business. So that means his profits will shrink even more.
Yeah.
Which means, of course, that he has to lay off more people because he's still not making any money.
That's right. Yep.
And what we like to call that in the world is called the death spiral, because you're letting more people go, which it keeps decreasing your productive capacity. Even if you could sell more stuff, you don't have enough people now to actually make the stuff.
That's right.
Right, and then you have to hire more people, you train them, so there's a delay to market, which could hurt Dave further, and he's down to 100 people. At this point, he might as well close shop.
I'm not liking this, Mackie.
I know,
it when
right?
it started.
I know. Money fight. But the point is, it's not even an oversimplification, because that's exactly what happens, right? And the only way to stay ahead of the death spiral, there are two ways to deal with it. Three, really. One, you buy somebody else. So you acquire another company, because then you're bigger and you can because you've shrunk as much as you can. You get someone else. You're still not making money, but you can fire more people. Hurrah! so you buy another company. That's what you do. Or you change your company. Your company becomes something else, which is hard. It's called retooling, but you can do it. Yeah. Or you sell your company. You make it look attractive. You cook the books, whatever it takes.
What's that smell? It smells delicious. Oh, I'm just cooking the books.
And the only other way...
I'm repackaging, Mackie. That's what I'm doing.
Look, there's some nice lipstick on that thing. The only other way would be to claim for bankruptcy. Chapter 11, I think it's called, right?
But that affects you personally for years, so...
7 years. Right.
Yeah.
But there are ways around that as well.
Witness protection program.
There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do legally. But you see, what do we see now these days? We see lots of mergers. We see people retooling. Right? No, we're going to change our way we do things. And we also see people being bought out or going bankrupt. That's what we see.
Yeah.
Not every company, mind you. Of course, not every company. But there's this trend in our economy, in the world economy, of what I just described. I was going to say I'm not a genius, but that's another discussion. No, but my point is, this is not really hard to understand. The problem is that most people don't want to see it that way, because it would allow them to look deeper into what we like to call our reality, our society, our civilization, which is not going well. And add to that the stresses of nature, right? Because nature ain't helping. Nature is not helping us at the moment. Okay? And then political instability as well, driven by economic and climate instability. Right? We're polarizing. We're going to the left, we're going to the right, we're going to the left, we're going to the right. The center is dying.
Argentina went right pretty hard.
Yes it did. So did Holland, the Netherlands. So right, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
But Dave, see,
it may as well just be Google running. I don't mean any offense to Google, but it may as well just be, fascism. Just do that. The reason why I've connected the two, and I wanted to bring it right up real quick, was the amount of rhetoric that our left media has warned our Australian people about voting for the right all came out this week because of Argentina. And they were so strongly opposed to this crazy right-wing person from Argentina that it looked like we were just trying to write on a white flag that we give up, that we don't support it because we've just attempted some peacekeeping missions over there with China, trying to get our trade back again. And if we were to support Argentina, because Argentina says we're fighting China, we want to align with the US, that's probably only international rhetoric for give us a better deal and we'll stay. That's all that really seemed to me. But our side was, hey, we've got a left government right now, don't start talking about the right. Right? It isn't good, it's not healthy, it's not good for the country to do that. And I'm paraphrasing a lot, but that's how our media approached these two countries flipping right. They even had a very left person being interviewed on the TV who was dishing out as much poop against the right in every occasion in the world, in all those countries, and how they're failing and all this stuff, which I thought was hilarious. Because at the moment, Mackie, there is only two parties, there's left and right, and the middle doesn't exist anymore. They've hollowed that out. And so if you're going to be so polarised, and the media is going to be so polarised, well, what happens when the shift occurs? Then you lose all of your audience. So I just think this is crazy. Everything's happening at the wrong time. In fact, it's like we're chefs in a kitchen. There's too many cooks. Someone says there's too much salt. Someone says there's too much sugar. Right? It doesn't have enough spice, and someone says it has too much spice, but everyone's adding what they want to it, and it's becoming inedible. That's an overall view, a 90,000-foot view of the world politics right now. How does that make you feel, Mackie?
Look, what you described earlier, and then what you just described, is exactly what I've been reading in the latest edition of Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Well, how good am I doing? And I'm not even reading it.
No, you're doing very well. Now, most of it, mind you, for you and I, is common sense.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. But what we're seeing being played out now is China adopting the economic hitman, methodology of the United States. Slightly differently and packaged differently, and always pointing to America, going, look, those guys, they really exploited you, right? They assassinated your leaders, they did this and that, blah, blah, but we're not going to interfere in the politics. We're not going to interfere. We're just going to build some bridges and some roads and some harbors, and then it's all, hunky-dory. Well, of course it isn't, because everybody works for their own benefit. But there's a massive shift globally, right, to China, away from the United States when it comes to trade agreements. Look, even the BRICS nations, right, are gaining a bit, and all of the BRICS institutions. Sorry, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and BRICS.
Argentina.
They might be in there now. Brazil,
the second largest BRICS,
trying to think
BRICS partner is the one that was the right-wing person. That's just
So it's definitely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and S. Who is S? I can't think of it now. My apologies. But the point is this: all the institutions, like the equivalents to the IMF and the World Bank, etc., they're all Chinese-based institutions, all based in China, right? The China Development Bank, etc., etc. And it's almost a mirror image of what the Americans and I guess the rest of the Western Hemisphere were doing. And of course, this is the kicker, right? South America, Africa, and Asia, and as well as the Pacific Islands, now as you just explained, Dave, as well, right? Are always in the middle of the meat grinder.
That's right.
They're always the guys that get chopped up or given a raw deal or whatever, right? And that's just it's really quite disturbing to watch it all, because we saw it happening in colonialism, and then something else happened when the Americans started to build their empire after World War II, and it was really after World War II it started to happen, right? And I'm talking like a global kind of empire they tried to create, and then now the Chinese taking the mantle from the United States to some extent, and everybody's talking about the Chinese century. This is the Chinese century. This is the time for China. And to be honest with you, China is a powerful country. They have got a lot of potential and capacity to do things. Now, a lot of the engineering projects, if you just look at the history of it in these nations, you know, that are part of the roads and bridges initiative. Really, it's really the new Silk Road. They're not really very good engineering projects.
No.
I think there was a dam that was built near an active volcano or something crazy in South America.
And there's a 6-lane freeway, Mickey, that goes to nowhere because the neighbouring country doesn't have anything.
Yeah, it goes from a 6-lane freeway into a bike track. Yeah, leave your car, take a bike, do it.
Just a growing number of piled up cars off the end of the freeway. But I'm not saying that, you know, there's not issues with doing this. Doesn't matter which country is doing anything. Once you become the world police and the world, you know, bank, then there's going to be positives and negatives come from, but it doesn't matter what's going on. It just doesn't matter. Because no one has the money themselves anymore. Everyone's in so much debt, and the economy is shrinking. And for some reason, Mickey, in the last 4 years, all of our lives have turned upside down. For some reason. Right? So we're trying to claw our way out of a hole, but it's, you know, the edges aren't well engineered, or too soft or brittle, or they're just crumbling away.
Edges are sand, right? And
we can't get out of the hole. There isn't anything. We owe too much, all our respective countries. There isn't enough. We've put too much on the credit card. I'm going to simplify it. America now has so much debt that they couldn't pay it back 4 years ago, and now it certainly can't pay it back ever. And the only way to do it is a world conflict. Right? Historically, that's how it's been repaired. And I don't see this as being any different to any of those times. Just keep putting it on the credit card. Yeah, well, this one's full. Get another. There isn't another. Well, raise the cap then. Ring up the bank and raise the maximum we can spend. And that's what American government's been doing for years. Obama had the first shutdown that I was aware of to better raise the the debt cap, right? Why? What? If everything costs so darn much, are we doing it wrong? Are we charging too much? You know, how much of the actual cost of everything? Remember, what was it? The Will Smith, the aliens, and the dad is saying to what's his name, Jeff Goldblum, what do you think? You think a pencil doesn't cost $5,000?
Yes.
All right. So
yes.
we are watching our own capitalist way of driving our own nations. We're watching that failing.
Yeah, we do, because again, we have bought into the worldview that we can chase never-ending and never-diminishing profits. We've bought into that. Everybody can make more money all the time in the future, forevermore. That's the worldview that capitalism espouses. That's the worldview we've all bought into. Knowingly or unknowingly, we all believe that there's no limit to our earning capacity.
Absolutely.
Some of us might dream it, but ultimately we all have these aspirations, these ambitions. None of us want to get better at being human. Not a lot of us want to get better at knowing things about things, like even if they're non-profit. So, I mean, academics for the most part, they're interested in what they're studying, sure enough, but they still have to eat. So they will compromise on their I guess research in order to secure money, tenure, grants, whatever, right? So they will self-censor. Okay, and everybody else doesn't really have an interest to become better at being a human being, better at driving the human race forward. We're all looking to make more money. More money. And like Dave said, that's where we are. This is the pathology of our civilization. It's dreadful. Another friend of mine, he's actually I guess he's in the public service. He's a clinical psychologist, and he deals a lot with people who have severe brain injury. You know, therapy, rehabilitation, all that. I mean, he's probably one of the few people I know that actually loves what he does and does it because he wants to do it.
Oh, that's great.
He's not rich, all right? And I'm not saying he's poor, but it's not going to make him a millionaire. Okay, he said if he went into private practice, he could make a lot more money, but he likes to stay working in public hospitals because then he can help people that can't afford it. That's a choice he made. Now, and he agrees with me as well. The problem is the system, and he sees it as well, because people that need help legitimately are denied, because the first thing that the insurance companies do, or anyone for that matter, is to reject their claim. No, something else. No, it's not that. I mean, it's horrendous. Some of the things that people go through, and after a while, even though you're on the right, and eventually you would get it, people give up. People give up because it's just too hard. Right? And these corporations, they can wait you out, and that's really the game.
Oh, that's all they do. The same. We saw that with asbestos, Mackie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the game is, well, let's wait for everybody to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is a tactic. It's not the best one to use. I mean, the Chewbacca defense was the one I liked the most. It just doesn't make sense. Mick, it's something really bizarre, right? I've been watching the forward video from the White House from that date that I can't say because they make our YouTube
October
video.
12th.
That'll do. So the video from that has come out, and it does definitely fly in the face of the accusations, right? Which it's good to see. Finally, it's the difference between me filming a traffic stop and then showing that video against the testimony of the police officer who said I did something that I didn't do. And that footage will prove me innocent, right? I'm not saying it's ever happened to me, and I don't want it to ever happen to me. I'm not asking the universe to provide that. But something really interesting Mickey. So we've seen that footage now from that just as the rapid unscheduled disassembly of the whatever it's called, Starship. Well, in the same way, the non-tourist expedition through a government building, the unscheduled one. Now that footage there comes in parallel as a change of the way you think about everything to the doctor's reports about George Floyd's police officer, Derek Chauvin.
Yeah.
Now he's in prison at the moment.
And he was stabbed. Oh.
Yeah, he was. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just look, prison's prison, and you'll get shivved by anyone for doing something, even saying no to somebody who wants to be the big spoon, right? So, that's the way it is. You look at someone bad in the yard, or you stand in the wrong spot. Good luck with that, right? So, he's been stabbed and he's now in hospital, but the family wasn't made aware of this.
Oh, okay.
And the family isn't being told. So that's very interesting that should happen. But is he being removed from the prison? And will he be, called out as having been deceased as a result of the stabbing, only to be renamed and join society again? Because the coroner said that it wasn't him that did it, even though he was there and there's video and everything, but that other things contributed towards the death rather than this police officer's actions. I'm not saying either way. I'm not calling this out. I'm just suggesting if this is a possible scenario that might happen in the future. Maybe he is, time of death is called, and then he disappears, and witness protection program kind of styled, and he just gets a ticket out of there. He's highly recognisable. I wouldn't know him from a bar of soap unless I just saw this photo of him. I didn't know what he looked like. But, grow your hair, wear a hat, sunglasses, never recognise the fellow, right? Is that a possibility? Well, yeah, it's on the list. Just like, aliens took MH370. That was still on the list. Doesn't mean it happened. I want to put that out there. So I'm speculating to the... Help me, Jeebus, right? I'm speculating a lot on this, and I just... when we say someone didn't kill themselves, we all know what that means. That is now forever in our society as a description. Even there's a fellow that's he's in one of those morning programs, not the news, not the lunchtime one, but the one that's mid-morning. And he opens his statement with, "I'm not suicidal."
Really?
Yeah. And it's against, the house of C. That's all I'm not going to say the rest of that sentence.
Wow, how about them apples?
Yeah, and one of the sitting members of the House of C is there. It's extraordinary. Just going to put that out there. I'm sure it was all put to air for a reason, But look, we've only got 1 minute left, Mickey. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it.
Sometimes you think time is linear, and then suddenly it's exponential. Who knew?
I know, right?
So, look, this has been the first hour of David Mackey's Show. Set out. Coming up in the second hour, we'll be talking about, I'll give all the YouTubers a little bit of a hint, the hypothesis and the epiphany, part 12. Hi.
Yes. Halfway through, almost, I think.
Oh. You'll take us all the way to the next one.
Probably. Well, that was always the plan, Dave.
It's the plan. You're getting longer. Anyway, so it's only a very short break. We'll see you after that. Do like and subscribe and share this with people, okay?